It's okay. Remember, they can't hurt you. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Closing Sidework. I am the host with the most, Sean Carson. On today's episode, I want to talk about something that has happened at least once to all of us, and that is that awkward moment when you have to cut somebody off. It sucks. It sucks for everybody. It should not ever get to that, but I totally understand how sometimes things just like get away from you. But before they get away from you, as a server, um, you can do a bunch of things to make sure we don't get to that point. Um, I like to look at non-verbal cues. Why? Because the verbal cues are all the same from anybody that needs to be cut off. They always look at you with like one eye. They're like, bro, I'm not even drunk. So I never depend on that. I always look at like their personal demeanor. Like, one, are they sweating? Are they sweating profusely? Are their eyes bloodshot? Are they all of a sudden super loud? Are they all of a sudden like super repressed and depressed? These are all things you got to look out for. In this video, you might hear me use the word liability a lot. I apologize in advance, but that's ultimately what it comes down to, because over serving somebody can mean possible legal trouble for you as the server or the manager or the bartender. There was a case in Texas in 2021 where this man named Daniel Rawls sued this bar, the bartender and the owner of the bar, because he was overserved. After he left, he got into like a little bit of a disagreement with another man at the bar. He falls in the parking lot, gets hurt, and turns around and sues the bar. And he says, like, if he hadn't been overserved, he wouldn't have fell. Long story short, the bar had to pay this guy $5.5 million. So always be aware of what you're doing. Don't be that dumbass server that serves somebody 1,000 shots. It's like, oh, well, I don't know how they got like that. I mean, I didn't plan this. Don't be that person. If you need to cut somebody off, my advice to you, get a manager involved and aware as soon as possible. Now listen, managers will throw a server under the bus for almost any reason under the sun to save their own ass, except for when you tell them you need to cut somebody off. I've had some shitty managers in my day, but like none of them have ever undermined me when I say, hey, we got somebody out here that I feel like needs to not drink. They'll always stand behind you. Why? Because liability. If you need to cut somebody off, don't be afraid. Um, Guests are a lot like bees and dogs. They smell fear. So make sure you stand your ground, but be polite. And make sure you lead from a very non-judgmental vantage point. Nobody wants to go up to you and be like, hey, you're cut off because you're a fucking drunk that can't handle his liquor. Don't do that. If you have to breadcrumb somebody slowly into sobriety, that is perfectly cool. You're probably like, Sean, what are you talking about? There was one time where there was this girl, it was her birthday, and she was there with 4 or 5 of her closest girlfriends. After 2 drinks, this girl was a mess. I made the judgment call easily, like, yo, you're done. But instead of making a scene about it, I politely said to one of her friends, hey, just so you know, I'm cutting this girl off, but it's not going to look like it. And she was like, what? I had to introduce the mocktail. So every time she ordered another Crown and Diet Coke, which I don't even know why she was drinking some shit like that, because that sounds disgusting. Not judging. Anytime she ordered another Crown and Diet Coke, I would just go to the bartender and have the bartender fill a bar glass with just Diet Coke and put lime on it. And she was so gone, she didn't even taste that there was no alcohol in this. So that way I don't make, this moment where it ruins her birthday party, whatever, and that person gets home safe. So be firm, be polite. In most cases, people usually don't get belligerent. And in a lot of cases, they're understanding. Almost never should the police be involved. I only say almost never because the third time that I ever had to cut somebody off. It got super ugly, but technically, it wasn't really about me. To make a long story short, this adorable couple came in on Saturday night. Everything was cool. They ordered a round of drinks. They ordered food. They ordered another round of drinks. And we're laughing, we're talking. No visible signs of anybody not being able to, hold their own. They ordered a third round. The wife gets up, goes to the bathroom. No big deal. As she's coming out of the bathroom, she's looking at her phone and she's like laughing. Now, I don't know what their history is, but her husband saw that, her looking at her phone and laughing, and instantly lost his shit. He was yelling and screaming like, "Oh, you're a fucking slut. I can't believe you're running around on me, blah, blah." And yeah, it got really ugly. This guy's like yelling and they're pushing and shoving. I duck off and I go call the cops. I'm like, "Hey, we need somebody over here immediately." My manager comes out, he's trying to subdue him. The cops show up. This guy's like angry and he's trying to like fight the cops. He's like, "You don't understand. My wife is fucking this black guy." Except he didn't say black guy, he said. So it's just this whole scene. All the other guests are like, "Oh my God, like, please stop, freak show." So the cops wind up like arresting this guy, taking him out. The wife is like so embarrassed. The only silver lining for me was I think the wife was so embarrassed that her husband used this racial slur. The bill was like $70 and she took out $200 and just like shoved it at me. And she was like, "Keep the change. I'm so sorry." And I was just like, "Okay, yeah, good luck. I hope that works out for y'all." Um, So yeah, it should have never gotten to that point. There was no reason that it should have gotten to that point. But again, that guy did not exude any nonverbal clues. His behavior was the same throughout the night. And he was like a big burly guy on a full stomach. And I don't know if the alcohol plus him seeing his wife smiling just triggered racism and lack of decorum. I don't know. But I wound up not getting in any trouble because my GM, she reviewed like the security footage. Shout out to Latoya, by the way. And she saw the whole night. He was just like very even, wasn't slunched over. I was able to tell her like he was not slurring his words in any way. It just literally went from 0 to 60,000. Like this guy was just in another world. So yeah, don't be afraid to cut people off. I've cut people off for less. I cut somebody off before they were even cut on once. These three gentlemen came in and they just smelled like old alcohol. Not like they had just like freshly come from like the bar across the street, but just like they had been drinking for like a week straight. And it was just like, "Oh, let's go down to the watering hole." And I was just like, no. So I told my manager, I was like, "Listen, I don't feel comfortable." I was like, they haven't ordered anything, but two of these guys can't really form a sentence. And this other dude looks like he died 7 days ago. And so, again, like I said, managers don't want to have to deal with any legal red tape or anything because of a liability. So they got your back. So don't be afraid, even if it looks like it's going to turn into something outrageous. Better have that than like to wind up in court or something crazy like that. So yeah, just keep an eye on your tables. That's all we ask, which is if you are a good server, you should be keeping your eyes anyway. So that is it for this particular episode. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Cannot stress this enough. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And then please tell a friend to do the same thing and tell their friends to tell their friends. My name is Sean Carson. This is the Closing Sidework. Y'all are awesome. I love you so much. Thank you.